All right, running a little late tonight. Had to restart the computer and technical issues. Hey, why is it not showing me that I have any viewers and you're here? Oh, there. It's a little delayed. Yeah, started a little late. I was ready to go, and about a couple minutes before I start to hit the streaming button, everything was out of whack. So I had to restart, and then I had to reload because there's a bunch of different pages and apps and everything that had to be brought up before I could start. I'm just gonna double check something. Yeah. Okay. Check that. That's good there. That's good there. Think we might be good right now. Plus, I was feeling very sleepy today. Hey, Grammy. But I think we got it. Okay. Remove this. Make certain I got all my things. Let me. Oh, it's right here. I can use that. Okay. Think we can start. Day one of. Norfair, you're a really, really nice person. Did that work? Okay. So, beginning of our. Oh, hey, you asked for something offensive. Oh, I gotta turn this down because I can hear myself. Okay. Day one of long-term project. Hopefully this goes well. If it ends up to be a complete flop, then I can stop. Oh. Oh, great. Now I gotta do this. Hold on. One more technical thing I have to do. Can never remember where it's at. Is it in this? Yes, just for you. It's gonna use a lot of sad green. Um, not in community. Is it content? Not in content. Oh, I can never remember where this thing is. Wait, it might be in home. Home. It's in home. You know, I've never ever made a sweater, and I don't know if I ever would want to. That goes away. That goes away. This one, yeah. That. Go back to the channel. Okay. I think we're ready. Refresh this thing. Most people think that streaming is you click on it and you just do. And like most people use this for gaming and they think, okay, you just click on the thing and start playing. No. I make hats and I hardly ever wear stocking caps. I made somebody years ago a pair of gloves, and I don't wear gloves. Why is it only saying I have one viewer? Anyway, we'll figure this out. Let me refresh that one more time. Okay, I think it's fine now. Hopefully, I'm done with technical issues. So tonight we're doing the beginning of our long-term project, and again, if this does not turn out to be a success, then I end up not doing it anymore. I realized I got a lot of yarn that's just sitting there, and I need something to do with it. And I thought this would be a good use of it. I'm going to make a temperature blanket. Temperature blanket basically is, you could do a scarf, you could do any type of thing. Basically, each day you track the temperature in your local area, or if you're giving it as a gift for that person's local area, and you track it for however long of time you're going to make it for. You could do it for a few months, you could do it for a year, planning a year because I got a lot of yarn. And each day you write down the temperature and you assign a range of temperatures to a specific color. So let's say today it was 60 degrees as a high. You could do a high. You could do the highs. Hey Daniel, I'm good. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. So let's say today it was 60 degrees. So you got a range of temperatures, and there's a way to figure that out. And let's say it's 60 degrees, and your color you've assigned to the range where 60 would fall in, let's say it's a pink. You would do a row, a square, whatever you're doing in that pink. And then tomorrow, let's say it got up to 69 degrees, and let's say that was in a separate range of colors. For a separate range, you choose a different color. So it's a way to, you don't know what your next color is going to be. The weather is going to determine that. A lot of people will use the high temperature. Some people will use the average. Some people will use the low. Most people use the high. The way you're supposed to do it is, well, not supposed to, but most people do it is, you go out and you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna get these colors because I like these colors, this range of colors, or they will suit your decor or whatever. And you've got 6, 7, 8 colors, and you're gonna make that work. So every time you're going to use, let's say, Red Heart Super Savers pumpkin color is your orange. So anytime it calls for what is this color, you always use this range of colors. You're always going to use Red Heart Super Saver Pumpkin. Well, I don't have X amount of enough of that one color for that range. So I'm doing mine kind of broad, general. So there'll be a range. It'll be reds. Then there'll be oranges, and so on. So I'm gonna do any color that. Well, no, I'm not gonna do blacks, grays, and browns. And the way that you usually would do it is you kind of take an average over the span of time. Let's say we're going to do a year. So you do the previous year, you figure out your high and your low. Well, where I live, it can be up to over 100 degrees, and it could be all the way down to the single digits. So that's going to be easy. So I want 7 basic colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and I'm going to do white. So that's my 7 colors. So I take that range and I kind of divide it into 7 ranges. Well, 100 doesn't really break down that easy. So, and I'll get into explaining the way I'm going to do the colors. On the screen here, these are just examples of what people have, that I found online, people have done with temperature blankets. The one here on the couch, that's just rows back and forth. And that's kind of what I'm going to go with, but mine's going to look a little different. The one above me, that's a granny square stitch. The one right next to me is a scalloped corner stitch. And the upper corner, that is a really cool one, and I don't know exactly how they did it. I'd have to look it up. These are examples I found online. That basically is, I think, each half of those squares, actually no, each line in those squares is a different day. So if you look, there's like a square that's got like a lot of yellow and green. Each line is a different day. So they broke it up to more like a throw type blanket. So the way you do this is you go to a site like AccuWeather or Weather Channel or anything like that. I'm going to use AccuWeather all year round. And I am going to put in my location. And you go at the top, whatever it is. If it's Weather Channel, AccuWeather, there's all different websites. They're going to have a monthly tracker. So I click monthly, and if it will load. Okay. And it just so happened that 2023 started on a Sunday. So it makes it easier that we're starting Sunday to Saturday. Doesn't matter. If you wanted to start this in July, and July 1st, let's say, would happen to be starting on a Wednesday, you start it whenever you want. And again, you don't have to do all year. You could do a shorter range, and you just have to do some math to figure out what you're going to do. If you're going to do a scarf, that's great for a short amount of time. A small Afghan or whatever. I'm planning probably to do roughly a queen size blanket. Roughly. So you see here at the the numbers on the top row for the first week are the highs. So January 1st, where I live, it was 64, and then Monday was 58, 67, etc. So you write those down. Since we're only a week in, that's all we can do. The numbers on the rest of it, these are forecasts. So obviously today is not over yet. We're not going to register today. We've already had our high today because it's in the evening, but we're not worrying about today. So we've got, like I said, 64, 58, 67, 67, 62, 51, and 50. So you track all these. You don't have to crochet every day. As long as you track it, you write down all your temperatures, then one day, if you decide, okay, we're going to crochet, we're going to work on it, you could do all 7 days, depending on the size of your project, in one day of crocheting. So you can break it up that way. It's not like, it's time I got to crochet. No, you don't have to do it every single day of the year. Then the way I'm doing it is I'm using Excel calendar. You could handwrite it. You could do however you want. I'm just doing it this way so it's easier for me to track everything. So those same numbers that we had, I'm just going to double check. Okay. Well, only back up one step. So I don't know if you could see here. And I can't. Maybe I can make it bigger. Okay. Again, I don't know how well it's going to come across on screen for you. but Saturday was a high of 50 degrees. So on my Excel spreadsheet here, I don't have Saturday filled in, so I'm just going to put in 50. And let me save that real quick. Okay. So now I got my temperatures recorded for the week. Then we're going to go, this is for me. This is my gauge of colors. So I've decided to keep it easy that anywhere in the 40s, it's going to be purple. Anywhere in the 50s is going to be blue, etc. Anything over 90, so that's including anything that's over 100 degrees, will be red. And anything less than 40 will be white. You could do it this way. That's the most common way is, okay, it's warm, you're going to use a warm color. It's cold, you're going to use a cold color. You could change it, however, according to the colors that you want to use. So if you're going to use if your decor is all blues and greens, you could use different shades of blues and greens. Yes, it's done with quilts. It's done with all different types of art forms. I think there's even people will do it with painting with like different types of geometric designs or whatever. Um, so for this here is for my blanket. Each person, if you're going to do it, you're going to do yours differently, and your temperature ranges are going to be different. Let's say you live in a really cold climate where your the highest temperature in your area is usually 80. Well, you're going to adjust your range. Same thing if you live in a warm climate. So you got to figure out the math. So I'm using the same hook that I've been using this whole time because it's an average size. It's an eye hook. It's a 5.5 millimeter. That's a basic worsted weight hook. And I'm going to get into the pattern in a bit, but my gauge is 5 stitches equals an inch, roughly, and 3 rows equal an inch. So roughly it's going to be around 80 inches by 120, roughly. And then the picture above me is just a picture of my yarn stash. So I'm like, okay, that's not all of it. I got other yarns that are big and bulky and the really fine yarn and novelty yarns. I'm not going to use any of those. I'm just using anything that would be a worsted weight yarn, which means your Red Heart Super Savers, your Karen, what's it called now? Forgot the name of it. The line they use. Basic, ordinary. When you think of yarn, basic, ordinary, craft store yarn, tried and true. Stuff that I've been using on stream. Okay. So, that's just to give an example of what my yarn stash looks like, and I'm pulling from those colors. I am low on oranges and yellows, so when it gets warmer, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with those. I got plenty of greens and purples and blues, and again, each time I do it, this is the blue I'm going to start with. Well, when this runs out, I don't think I have any more of this blue. I'll choose a different blue. So it's not going to be the same shade. My chart is blue. If it falls in the blue family, it'll be used when the temperatures are in the 50s. So, let's start. So, you can see here, the chart is here above me. And Sunday the 1st was 64. So 64 is a green. So I'm going to use green. This is not my favorite color green, but I have a lot of this green. So we're going to start, and I got my little notes on how to do this pattern. This pattern is super easy. It doesn't use a lot of yarn. Problem is, you're going to be chaining a lot. So, let me, oh wait a minute, is that, oh, this is a messed up cake of yarn. Let's see something. I didn't plan ahead with this one. Hopefully I'm not tearing this thing all completely apart. Well, if I do, I do. Okay. So, this might be boring for everybody because the starting is boring, but it's a blanket. And it's a queen size blanket, and our rows on the blanket are going to go horizontal. So when you're using the blanket, they're going to go horizontal. So we're going to chain for this pattern. It's a multiple of 2. And now, if you're going to actually plan this, and let's say you're doing a year, like I plan on doing, you don't know how much to buy because you don't know what the weather's going to be like each day. So, you start out with X amount of colors. You can get a couple, however many skeins of each color. But in the long run, you might be using more than others. Like here, you're not going to use as much red because most of the year it's not going to be, from my scale, you're not going to have temperatures in the 90s most of the year. Same thing, you're not going to use a whole lot of white because most of the year the temperature's not below 40. So you really don't know what to buy, but I recommend if you're not doing what I'm doing, just pulling red, just random whatever color, whatever shade, I would recommend a yarn that it's very common, it's easy to get, and yes, I'm using the high for each day. Some people use the low, some people, and I don't know how they figure out the average of the day. No, we're not doing all that. We're doing keeping it simple, the high for the location where you're at. There are some people who actually use an actual outdoor thermometer in their yard, and they'll check it against their one of the websites like AccuWeather, because where they take the temperature for that website is not at your house, and they want to be exact. And I'm like, no, we're not doing all that. I'm not going to go and check out at three or whatever in the afternoon each day. Check the hot. No, I'm whatever AccuWeather says, or Weather Channel, or whatever website you use. Just use the same website. Most likely they're going to be the same because it's a high. It's not like it's going to be 30 degrees off. Might be a degree or 2 off. But again, my ranges are 10-degree ranges. It's not like it's. Some people will do, they want to have many colors. Some people probably want 18 colors. If you want to set up your own weather station, hey, go right ahead. Some people want 18 colors. Well, if you have 18 colors, then your color ranges are within a few degrees. So you're going to have, but I'm not doing all the different, I'm not doing 5 shades of yellows and 6 shades of orange. No, I'm keeping it simple. So, this is for a queen size bed. Your the amount that you chain will vary depending on the size of blanket you do. And there are ways to figure out if you want to do a twin, a full, a king, an Afghan, or whatever. I figure I have a lot of I have a lot here, and I'm going to do this all year long, and I'm going to do a queen. So, it's multiples of 2 plus 1. So I'm going to do 400. So you're going to sit here and watch me chain 400 chains. And it might take all stream just to do the chain. but we got our color. Yes, people have done that. People have done it for um people's significant birthdays, like if they're turning 50, or like a kid if they're turning a like a girl's sweet 16, they'll plan it um um for a baby being born. That your temperature range, your temperature range would be for 9 months. You could do it for an anniversary. Let's say a couple's been married for 50 years. Well, you go back in history and you check the you check the what all the weather was the year that they were married, and give it to the couple. There's all different ways you can do this. If and there's ways with there's things you can also do throughout. Let's say I'm doing a year, and if there's significant days of the year that mean something to me, um, on those significant days, you use the same color, the color that falls into your range, but you could do a different stitch. Or during, as you're doing that, let's say my birthday. If I wanted to put in there, okay, this row is my birthday. You could do the color, whatever color for that temperature, and then at a certain point do a couple stitches in a different color, and keep that different color to be the marker throughout. So if you look at it, let's say our different color, for my case here, let's say black. It's a, not it's completely different than all the colors I have. So for all the significant days of the year that mean something to me, you have all these colors, but in that row on my birthday, let's say there'll be like 4 or 5 stitches that'll be black. So as you look at it, you'll see the different colors. I'm not doing that. There's all different ways that you can use it. So we've done two, and I'm not going to count here to 400. Can't really talk too much and count, but I'll try my best. I'm not coordinated. We've got 30. Oh, this is gonna be. I should have done this off. I should have done this off camera. I really should have done this off camera. Actually, Kate, you know what? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Hmm. Yeah, I'm actually gonna do it the whole thing since it's a stream. Oh my god. I was gonna end up just doing a sample to show you, but then what's the point? Because this whole thing is a crochet along. 41, 42. We're at 42. We're at 50. Wow. Woo. Temperature scarf would be good, but then my streams would be real short. But yeah, you could do temperature scarf. You could do anything. Wait, what was? I lost count. This is not. I was not prepared for this. Okay, okay, okay. If it's not exact, it's not exact. I could always go back and rip it out. Yeah, but I can't play music on Twitch because I will be copyrighted. Yeah, I totally lost count. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, I would like to play music, but the only way I can play music if it's my own original. And as some of you know, I am not musically inclined. Okay, this would be a good time, and I don't have any, but I can make my own. That was 20. I'm going to use stitch markers. That's kind of the point of stitch markers. So I've done 20. I get my needles. This way I don't have to rip it all out like I just did. So if you don't have stitch markers, use a scrap piece of yarn of a contrasting color and just that came out. That came completely out. But in that 20th stitch, just put in a bit of yarn so you know every 20th stitch to keep track. I'm gonna I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna go a little more than 20. Okay, that's oh, shit. Enough done. Okay, this is not turning out to be a good story. I fucked it up again. Wait a minute. Wait. No, 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 no. We're good. 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 Okay, that's 50. Bear with me, people. Can't even get past the chain. This is elementary level crochet. Okay, we'll do every 50 because I don't want to have tons of stitch markers. 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Whoops. 19, 20, 21, 22, 4, 6, 7, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Okay. So we're a quarter of the way down the chain. Imagine if I did a king size. Yes, we made it to 100. Aren't you proud of me? That was 34. I remember. 36. 60, 61, 62, 63, 7, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 75, 7, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 7, 8, 99, 100. Okay, we're halfway done the chain. Okay, so, how do I do this? Oh, we got rid of that. Okay. Sorry if you're bored watching me chain stitches. Believe me, once we get into this, it's actually going to go quicker because if anybody crochets, they know the chain is the worst. So that's 200 stitches. I hate doing the chain. Actually, what I hate more is crocheting into the chain, but okay. Halfway done. 4, 2, 8, 70, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 7, 98, 99, 100. 300 stitches! Woohoo! Um, 400 will roughly be 80 inches wide. How long in feet? You figure it out. 80 divided by 12. We're at 300. Okay. Quarter of the way left. 22. 50 stitches left. Ten stitches left. Nine. That's 400 plus one. No, I'm not putting a border on it. You can put a border on it. Originally, this pattern here, and I have to credit, and I don't remember her username. Let me look it up. Let me look it up real quick. It's not going to take me long because it's recently watched it. There's a YouTuber called the Secret Yarnery. Weird. That's where I got this pattern from, and I don't know how to. I think I can put links in here. There we go. I'm using her pattern, but she has tassels, so on either side of the edges, the sides of the blanket will have tassels. I'm not doing tassels, but it's that pattern. So I should credit her for that. I don't know if she came up with it, but this also uses a little less yarn, so I'm not going through it as quick. I mean, I have plenty of yarn, but I don't want to end up getting to July and be like, oh, crap. The point is not to go and buy more yarn. I might have to get some more yellows and oranges because I'm low on those colors, but I got plenty of the other colors. Okay, so we're at 400. So to do your first row, we are going to crochet in the back loop. And I think I did this on a recent stream, and I don't know if anybody caught it, but we're going to have to zoom in. I got to get my controls. We need to do the autofocus like the other night. Because it was, oh no, 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 no. We don't need to do the autofocus. Oh no. Oh, did I mess it up? Yeah, I messed it up. There we go. Okay. So, just a review, we got our chain, and it forms those V stitches on the front of the chain. But on the back of the chain, they've got these bumps. I think the Secret Yarnery refers to those as camel bumps. Because a chain, you're basically kind of braiding it. So we're going to go into those back bumps. The reason being is that those V stitches that are on this here will form the actual finished edge of the blanket. So it'll be a little bit nicer. Okay. So what we're going to do, in the third bump from the hook, so there's one here between my thumbs, 2, and 3. In the third one, we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a chain. We're going to skip the next bump, and then the next one we'll do a single crochet. Does that make sense? So do a single crochet, do a chain, and then in your original chain you did, the second chain stitch, the chain, you go in and do a single crochet. That's all this first row is. If anybody needs me to go a little slower, so when we started, it was the third chain in. We did a single crochet stitch, then we chained, and then we're skipping every other chain from our 400 long mile chain that we made. And that's all the first row is. And the chain in this row are counting as January 1st. Because remember, we're doing a temperature blanket, so each row we're doing will change color depending on the weather. Let's say I was doing this for somebody who lived in, I don't know, Denver, Colorado. I could look up Denver, Colorado's temperatures and do it for them. Hmm, yeah, that's a thing. So all I'm doing is single crochet, chain, and then skip a chain and just repeat. It's just basic single and chains. And it's forming this, I don't know if you could see, since we're skipping every other chain, it's going to be an open stitch here. You're making like a ladder basically. So like the single crochets would be the rungs of the ladder, and then the chain stitches and the tops of the singles would be the uprights of the ladder. God. Oh God, no. We're no. You're not. We don't need you to do a Minnesota accent in chat. There's one thing I wanted to show you. So, closest to me here is our original chain. So when going in through those back loops, this will be the actual finished edge, the bottom edge of the blanket. So it'll be nice and finished. So I wouldn't really have to go back and do an edging on it. It kind of makes it a little bit more complete. Oh, you have no idea, Norfairy. Oh, or actually, that's if they were if I was using this gauge here. Let's say I would make it for somebody out there. My temperature ranges, my temperature, complete temperature range would be different. I'd have to adjust the colors, to fit into those ranges would be much smaller. Instead of 10 degrees for each color, I'd probably have 3 degrees for each color. When we get to the end here to do tomorrow's, not tomorrow's, January 2nd's, yes, Cinderella, yes, there will be 365 rows completed, unless it's a leap year, but this year's not a leap year. And I figured out the math. It's going to be a little bit longer than a queen size blanket. It's going to be roughly, with the gauge I crochet at and the hook I'm using, it's going to be roughly 120 inches, which is a little bit longer than a queen size. But I'm okay with that. But yes, you could do this if you wanted to. If you didn't want to it to be that long, if you wanted to make us like an Afghan and you wanted to do all year, you could do half a row. Let's say instead of 400 chains, you do 300. Well, so you'd have 300 chains, so you'd be more narrow. But if you do 150 of those for one color for one day, and then the other 150 of that same chain, the same row, well, I wouldn't do chain. I would do it a little differently. So eat like half. So half your blanket of the row would be one day, and the other half of the same row would be a different day. And it could be your colors would change more often. Just like my example I gave here, like in the upper left hand corner, they did this square, and I don't know the pattern, but they did like this square technique where you do half a square, but they're triangles, and each row of that half triangle is a day. So some days you only do 2 or 3 stitches, but you keep going until you get your finished size block. You make blocks and then put the blocks together. That's just an example. So this might be a little bit boring. It's better than watching me count. And I may or may not get to the next row tonight. I'll try. Oh, I can believe it. Yes, yes, you could do it that way. You could do the high for the or the average for the week, or however you would. Yeah. If you got any oranges and yellows, yes, I get. No, I'm joking. Yes, Bob Ross, happy little yarn. So same thing. It's just single crochet do a chain, and then you skip every other stitch in your original chain. It's a real simple pattern, and it's pretty on when I get to the end of the row, if I will ever get to the end of the row. I'll show you how to do the second row. Yeah, it's like a minty, sagey green. I have lots and lots of it. It's an okay green. It's not my favorite green. I don't even know what the color is. I think it might be Red Heart. I don't even know the name of it. But yeah, it's like a sagey green. Hey, 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 hey. Don't encourage him. Coming to that stitch marker I had, which I don't need the stitch markers anymore. I really should have decided to do a more narrow blanket than this, but it is what it is. I like this stitch because it's nothing fancy. There's no intricate things going on, and it doesn't use up your yarn too fast. And the second row, the way the second row goes in, they kind of interlock. If we ever get to the second row, I might have to do a couple days off camera. Let me just check something real quick. Oh, if I do get to the second row today, we will change colors because the first is a high of 64, the second was a high of 58. So we will change colors for the second day. Finish weight? I don't know how long. Oh, I know what you're referencing. Hopefully it won't be that heavy of that blanket. I made a blanket a while ago, over king size for myself, and then I realized that it was too heavy and suffocating for me to use, so I gave it to Grammy and Gramps love it. It's a really pretty blanket. I mean, I like the pattern I did on that, but I can't. It was just too big for me. I'll have to take a picture of it sometime and upload it here on my stream. And I might even demonstrate at some point. I might demonstrate that stitch. Actually, there's a little bit of this color in that blanket. The rest of it is like this variegated blue oceany color. I think it's actually Red Heart. I think it's called Ocean. And the pattern, the stitch pattern is like a wave. Not a zigzag, but like a gradual wave. And there's a special technique. Well, it's not special. I did it the other week of transitioning between colors. I only crocheted in the back loop instead of both loops. But that blanket is pretty heavy. We're getting there. I'm always slow with crocheting into the chain. It's my least favorite thing to do. I'd rather weave in tails. But if you're doing rows, you kind of have to do this step. At least I'm going into every other chain, so it's not like I have to go through every to all 400. I only have to go into 200 of them. I hope I'm not losing everybody. I think Clay Miko is probably over there taking notes. Single stitch and chain. That's all this blanket is. It's only single stitch and chain. There's no other complicated stitches. Hey, that's good. That's one of the goals of this Twitch stream that I decided to start doing is, hey, if other people can get inspiration. That chain was a little tight, but I got it. And again, it's not all gonna be yarn crafts on this channel. I really got to think of some other things to do on here. I've got one or two things at the back of my head, but I'm figuring that Sundays and Tuesday nights, all of them, and I'm not going to use multicolored yarn because that would not fall in my temperature range. You could if you wanted to do multicolored yarns. Um, if you let's say, for instance, you had a different temperature range, but between, like, for instance, anything in the 40s would be purple, and for my range, anything in the 50s would be blue. Well, let's say you wanted to break it up that the low 40s would be purple and the upper 50s would be blue. So anything from, like, I guess 46 to 53, you could do a yarn like this. It's got blues and purples. This also has greens in it. And it could be a transition. What do you mean if? It's when. How many acrylics died for this? Okay. I don't think somebody knows how obtaining animal fibers work for yarn. They don't kill the animal. Plants is different. We're not eating it. We're getting closer to the end. Exactly. Well, no. No, 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 no. The sheep doesn't. The sheep does not grow yarn. I'm imagining a sheep walking around with a skeins of yarns all over its back. That made me. That made me chuckle. Okay. I don't want to crochet or knit with anything that comes out of a sheep's body. If it was only that easy. Now I've watched. My stream is not the. Um, I'm not one to explain and go into detail about. I know how it all works, but I've watched a YouTuber who goes very, very informative of the whole process of what needs to be done from the fleece on a sheep to the final product. And it's more involved than you would think. Now, what I'm using here is acrylic, but that's a different process. But for a sheep or a llama or most animals, it's not a matter of shaving it and then turning it into yarn. There's a whole lot of steps that have to be done. And well, actually, yeah, this is plastic yarn. Okay, we're getting near the end. Um, Real brief. They raise the animal. Okay, they take care of the animal, and this is the farmer or the rancher or whatever. And then in the late spring, early summer, they shear the animal because it's growing and it gets warm, even in colder climates. the whole purpose of the fleece is to keep the animal warm. And yeah, we're getting there. I'm trying to get this done. God, it's already been. Well, I did spend a good portion of the beginning of it explaining what I was doing, so I wasn't crocheting since the beginning. Um, so they shear the animal in late spring, early summer, and then not necessarily the same people do all of this. Um, Usually there are people who, separate people within farm, the farmer or the rancher, usually separate people, sometimes family members or whatever, or whoever purchases the fleece. That's what it's called when it comes off the animal. The whole, it they try to take it off in one whole piece. That's called a fleece. And then there's a process of cleaning it because it's an animal. It's out there eating and pooping and getting into the dirt, and so there's a whole process of cleaning it, and then, oops, okay, and then there are certain processes that can be done. One of it is carding. Rolling in their own shit. And then there's a process called carding, and there's different types of carding that can be done, and that serves two purposes. It's to orient the fibers all in one direction, because it's easier to spin yarn when the fibers are going a certain way. And the other reason that you card is to remove something called VM, which is vegetable matter, because when a sheep eats the hay and the seeds and whatever, it gets caught in um, their fur. Oh, before that, when they're washing it, especially with sheep, they have to get out the lanolin, and the lanolin is it's a fat. It's a natural waterproofer for the sheep, and you got to remove that, because if not, your yarn, your finished product, is going to be very sticky. And they don't just, hey Seagam. Actually, you should have spun in earlier. I was crafting wrong. I had to rip it out and start over. And I was counting, and that was. But they don't, when they wash the fleece and get the lanolin out, they don't throw the lanolin away. The lanolin is used in a lot of products, in lotions and cosmetics and a bunch of other things. It's actually beneficial for us humans for moisturizer. Okay, well, we're getting there. I don't know how many are left, but we've got about 70 stitches left. Well, half of that because we don't go into each stitch. So back to the process. So they've washed all the lanolin out, and then they're carding it to get the vegetable matter out, which is also called VM, and the poop, and all of that. And then there's some processes that they do to it where they there's different things that they could do to it, but that is all to pretty much align the fibers into certain directions, and you can blend fibers together and sometimes you could dye the fiber before you spin. Sometimes you can dye it after it's into yarn. There's different processes of it, and I know about it. I don't really know. I've never done any of that. I've never carded. I've never washed a fleece. I've never done any of that. But I do have, and this is something I might do on the channel. I'm not really good at it, but that'd make a good laugh for people to watch. I do have, actually I have two, electric spinning wheels and I've tried my hand at spinning. I'm not really good at it. I also have a couple drop spindles, which that's a totally different. That's a tool you use to spin fiber into yarn. That's how they used to do it before spinning wheel was a thing. Um, I don't have a traditional spinning wheel because they're expensive, and even if price wasn't a thing, I don't really have the room for one. Even though they do have compact spinning wheels. But I got two little tabletop electric ones, and that's for another day. I've spun. Actually, I got it at Michael's. There's a yarn. It's actually acrylic, but it's a very fluffy, fibery, fluffy type yarn. And I was able to take it and deconstruct it and then use that to spin. It's a lot more affordable than buying some actual wool. I do actually have some wool, wool, like from a sheep. Oh, okay. We've got this much left to go. So we're getting there. Oh, you had to step foot in the mod closet. Was there somebody in here that was doing something they shouldn't have been? I hope it counted right. Watch, Seagam probably muted everybody. No, nobody can chat in my stream. Knowing him. Couple more stitches, and we can change colors. I counted right. Okay. So now I just did a chain. We have two chains left. So we're going to go into that very last, because we skipped the chain, go into the very last chain, and we start the single crochet, but we don't finish. Because now we're going to change colors. This is the blue I have. I got to take a little drink. I learned it how to do that. Okay. No more stitching into chains. No more counting. None of that. So now we're going to change colors, and you would do it. You change colors the same way that you would change any other color. Well, let me trim my tail. I'm not doing tassels. If you do tassels, you would leave your tails long. If you find that link, and I'll have to find a way to link it. I might end when I upload it onto YouTube. I might put that link on there in the description. Um, because she does tails. So now we're just going to join our next color, and that finishes off that stitch. And move this out of the way. So we've added our second color. Oops. And then we're going to chain two. And then we're going to flip our work, which gets unruly when you're doing a blanket. And then you're going to look at these chain spaces. So we're going to find my controls so we can zoom in. So we've just chained two here for our new color. And there's a chain space here Because remember we did a single, then a chain, then a single, then a chain. So these chain spaces, so in between each single crochet, that's what we're going to go into. We're going to crochet into that chain space, not into the stitch. So we're going to do a single into the space, single crochet, do a chain. And we're going to keep doing that. Into the chain space, like if you're doing a granny square. If you're doing a granny square, you go into the chain space, not into any of the stitches. Single crochet, then do a chain. Single crochet, do a chain. And now I can get faster. So this blue, any blue in this blanket, and later on when I run out of this color blue, it might be a baby blue. Any blue will mean that that day the temperature was in the 50s. Yep, real simple. You don't really got to worry about finding the stitch or counting or any of that. And it's actually showing up really good. You could see how that stitch is interlocking with the row below because the single crochet is going into that chain stitch, so they interlock. And then the next row, let me just check something. The third was we had a high of 67, so the next row is going to be green. So it's going to be green, blue, green for the first 3 days, and then it's going to interlock in between the blue. The only time it's really not going to show up as much is if a consecutive day were the same color, but you'll still see it. Because like the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th were all in the 60s. So those 3 days in a row, they're all going to be the same color. If you have a smaller range of colors, so let's say you only have like 5 temperatures and then you change colors, you'll see a more drastic change. Now this is just the pattern I'm using. You can use any other pattern. You could do all single crochet. You could do all double crochet. You could do any type of pattern you want. This just happens to be the stitch pattern I've chose to do for this blanket. Now you could see here, this is the green is the bottom edge of the blanket. This is going to be the side. So if you're going to have tassels, you'd have tassels on either side. I'm not doing tassels. I'm not a big fan of this because over time, when you wash it and use it, they're going to fray and they could get nasty. Now we're going fast because I'm not having to look into that individual chain. I think I bored everybody talking about how they process wool. Okay, good night. I'll chat with you later. Oh, I meant to tell you I need to message you about something, but I'll do that later. Off stream. No, I get it. I get it. Well, I'll be on yeah, sure. I'll be on Tuesday night doing more of the temperature blanket. By then, hopefully I'll progress to the 3rd day. I'm going to try to start the 3rd day tonight. Oh, I'll easily get to the third day tonight because this is going pretty fast. But yeah, I keep forgetting if I'm chaining or not, but I am chaining. So what is single crochet chain, single crochet chain, and you're doing it into the chain space from the previous row. Pretty darn simple. I don't think we need to see all of that sitting on the camera. Ah, lost the stitch there. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. We're getting there. change that stitch. Getting near the end of this row. Home stretch of this is coming up. Hands are starting to go a little numb. Couple more stitches and then we can change colors. Back to the green. Okay, whoops. Too fast. We're going to change the color back to green. Blue tail, because we don't need the blue right now. Chain 2. Turn our work. Do the same thing. Straight into that chain stitch. Wait a minute. Did that right? I didn't do that right. I went too many. Hold on. And this is what it's starting to look like. January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And they end up interlocking. Ah, got caught in stitch. Yarn splits. I hate it when the yarn splits. For some reason I can't crochet with this green yarn. It's giving me a pain. I think I'm going to get most of this row done. And that'll be it for tonight. And then we will pick up on Tuesday. Anybody who's joining, welcome. Starting the long-term project, which is the temperature blanket. reason this green yarn does not like me. Maybe because I don't really care for that color. So that's what we're getting so far. I actually like the look of it. Thought I was going off camera, and I might have been. I think we're going to get to the end of this and then call it a night. longer. Over a foot left. Oh, I think I screwed up there. Oh well. That's the last stitch. So we're done January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of the blanket. First 3 days done. Going to change that back. Okay. The recap. Temperature blanket. Figure out the colors you need, the temperature ranges, etc., etc., etc. They're already in the beginning of the video. Remember to follow me if you want to follow. My socials are below. Mainly YouTube. Again, like usual, this will be uploaded immediately after the stream. And guess I will chat with you all on Tuesday evening. Good night.